Today is come somewhat of a tradition for us. It's really lovely that we partner with the Shomer Collective, which is an amazing Jewish nonprofit that lifts up issues of end of life and dying, uh, destigmatizes, deshames, normalizes, and makes present in our lives the opportunities to engage in issues of mortality. So it's for reasons I'll explain in a minute, it's natural to do so, to have this annual co-sponsored sit just before Yom Kippur, which is understood in a way as a dress rehearsal for our own death. Spoiler alert for those of you who are here for today's sit. That is our theme today. And so I'm delighted to welcome the founder and director of the Shomer Collective, Rabbi Melanie Lebab, to say a few words to begin.
Thanks so much, Marc. Really, really grateful to be here with you today. Shomer Collective, as you said, startup nonprofit. We're dedicated to talking about death Jewishly. Our work grew out of the realization that too many of us wind up in crisis around end of life because we have not sufficiently spoken about nor planned for end of life. And we know that there's so much Jewish wisdom to mine for the value of confronting our mortality. It's really a gift to partner with you today, especially, as you said, because Yom Kippur is a dress rehearsal for death as we understand it Jewishly. And yet we have reminders throughout Jewish wisdom of the value of confronting our mortality in order to live lives of greater meaning and connection. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, teacher of my teachers, wrote that we can't understand the meaning of life unless we're willing to reflect on our lives in the face of death. So it's my blessing today that may we all be blessed with the benefit of confronting our mortality to live better today. And I'll put a link in the chat to read more and connect with upcoming opportunities. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Melanie. We really appreciate that, and really kol hakavod for the holy work of the Shomer Collective. And we're delighted at IJS to have this ongoing partnership with you on this pre-Yom Kippur sit today. So friends, we're going to move into that practice today. As you know, as has just been mentioned, Yom Kippur is very much associated with the spiritual practice of growing in awareness of our impermanence, of our mortality, the fact that we're finite beings, and it's repeated throughout the liturgy, both on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, most famously in that central prayer for both holidays, Unatana Tokef, where we have those chilling words about who will live and who will die. But more than that, a prayer that really talks about our fragility, our vulnerability, the fact that we are material beings who are who have a limited time, a limited lifespan. We're likened to clouds that pass, to flowers that wither, to leaves that dry up, to grass that dries up and withers, etc. And yet also we are connected by virtue of being created in the divine image with that which is eternal, beyond time and beyond space. And so this practice, which sounds kind of maudlin and not so fun to rehearse our own death, not the best of times, is really critical in terms of getting real with ourselves and with God, in keeping with the title of Rabbi Alan Liu's book, This is Real and You Are Totally Unprepared, which we cite frequently and which many of us, once again, studied and practiced with in the month of Elul. So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into not into this awareness and willingness to fully accept, one might say radically accept, our temporality in order that we transform how we live in the here and now. That's really the goal. It's not to scare us, it's not to bum us out, it's not to depress us. It's for the sake of living, really being alive right now. They're just, why is Yom Kippur associated with mortality? Aside from the liturgy, of course, we refrain from eating, drinking, from making love. We wear white. We have many other prayers that are related to death, such as the Yisker service and the martyrology. And we make confession throughout the day. We use a liturgy called the Vidui, where we make confession, which is also traditionally said before one's death. And we end with the day with the Shema, which is traditionally said when we're about to die. So that's why it's a dress rehearsal for death. But we can notice this process of this reality of impermanence constantly, really. And we're just going to begin with our opening little set to bring some awareness to that, to awareness of beginnings, middles, and ends that we can notice just in our very breath, the cycle of our breath. So those of you who are familiar with our practice will understand what I mean when I say find a position right now. If hopefully you've minimized or eliminated any distractions and you're as 100% with us as possible. And if you're not, I want to invite you to take a moment now to see whatever you can do to be 100% here with us collectively. And the more we all can do that, the stronger we can each feel that sense of being connected and present in the moment. So find a position. If you're sitting, that's great. If you're standing, that's great. If you're lying down, that's totally great too. No right position. We really just want to find a position of kavod, of dignity and honor, honoring ourselves. So you might, if it's possible for you, rest the soles of your feet on the floor and feel the floor beneath you. Feel that support. You might want to press down. A reminder that you are supported right now and held up, connected to this earth by gravity. You might feel the support of the chair or sofa, seat beneath you. And if there's a backrest, you might feel that support. And you can let your hands come to a rest. No need to do anything with them. You can let them just relax and rest in your lap, on top of your thighs, however is comfortable for you. And the other piece is to press the crown of the head up towards the sky, towards the heaven. So we are connected to the earth and we're connected to the heavens as well. And we're just breathing, taking a few breaths, better than taking breaths, receiving breaths. And it might be helpful if you can to roll your shoulders back, roll your shoulder blades back, and see if that opens up a little more space in your chest, and bring some awareness to the front of your body and feel supported beneath you, behind you, under you, and feel the support coming from above too. We're not alone in this. We can feel that support, and we might even feel the support of this group, all these people who are here at the same time for the same purpose, supporting each other. We can draw on that, draw from that strength. And for this purpose today, our practice is pretty simple, to just bring our attention to the process of breathing. And before the next inhalation, see if you can notice when that inhalation arises of its own accord, without drawing a breath, without taking a breath. See if you can notice receiving the breath. That might take a few cycles of breath, where you're just waiting until the breath comes to you. With as little effort on your part as possible. When we do that, we can become aware of each breath as a gift. that arises from beyond us. It's not of our making. You might silently express gratitude for that, either in your mind or by placing a hand over your heart as an expression of gratitude. Moda ani, moda ani, I'm grateful to you. And after a few cycles of noticing, receiving the gift of nishima, of breath that restores and feeds our neshama, connects to our soul, let's shift our attention to the exhalation. And again, we're not breathing out, we're not exhaling. See if you can experience that as releasing that breath, almost as if we're just passing the gift, letting the gift pass through us and return to its source. Just let the air escape from you through your nose or through your mouth. And see when it ends. See if you can notice the point when that exhalation ends. The end of one cycle of breath. Or just noticing the lifespan of each breath that arises from beyond or deeper than us and moves through us and then returns from whence it came. And we'll never have another breath like that one. And then there's a new one. And likewise, each of us arises in this world in our birth and passes back to the source in our death. Like waves emerging from the ocean and then receding back into the ocean from which it came. If your eyes have been closed, that's great. You can keep them closed. And we're just going to try to stay with awareness of that cycle of breath. If your mind wanders off, you can always just come back to it. It's always there, always available to you. And if for any reason it may be dysregulating for you to focus on your breath, encourage you to consider a different anchor, like the sensations in your body or the sounds in your room, temperature of the air against your skin. So I'm going to share a teaching from Jewish tradition, and not to worry about reading this. Rachel will share the link later for those who would like to see it, but I'm just going to share it verbally with you. It's a teaching from the Talmud and Tractate Shabbat that says that we learned in a Mishnah that Rabbi Eliezer, this is in Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Eliezer teaches, Shuv yom echad lifnei mitatecha, return or repent or make teshuvah one day before your death. Rabbi Eliezer's students asked him, but does one know the day on which one will die? How do you do that? And he said to them, this is all the more so, it's a really good piece of advice, that one should return or turn today. One should make tshuva today, lest one dies tomorrow. By following this advice, one will spend all one's days, one's entire life, in a state of repentance, in a state of return, in a state of teshuvah. So on Yom Kippur, we have this awareness particularly, but it's meant to be a daily practice. What would our lives look like if we thought that today might be our last day? This might be our last opportunity. How might we live? How might we live? So again, if it's feels dysregulating to consider some of these questions, please do whatever you need to take care of yourself. Otherwise, follow that. Let's follow that invitation to consider that this could be our last opportunity, our last day. And Rabbi Eliezer says that should prompt us, lashuv, to return. Return to our source, return to God, return to the divine, return to our better selves, return to our forgiveness of self and others, return to generosity. So I'll invite you just to sit with that question. I'm going to read a poem by a woman whose name was Norma Cornett Marc, who wrote this in remembrance of her son, Samuel, who drowned while saving the life of another young boy. She wrote this in 1989 and she died of cancer in 2004. And she wrote this poem for her son called Tomorrow Never Comes. If I knew it would be the last time that I'd see you fall asleep, I would tuck you in more tightly and pray the Lord your soul to keep. If I knew it would be the last time I'd see you walk out the door, I would give you a hug and kiss and call you back for just one more. If I knew it would be the last time I'd hear your voice lifted up in praise, I would tape each word in action and play them back throughout my days. If I knew it would be the last time, I would spare an extra minute or two to stop and say, I love you, instead of assuming you know I do. So just in case tomorrow never comes, and today is all I get, I'd like to say how much I love you, and I hope we never will forget. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone, young or old alike, and today may be the last chance you get to hold your loved one tight. So if you're waiting for tomorrow, why not do it today? If tomorrow never comes, you'll surely regret the day that you didn't take that extra time for a smile, a hug, or a kiss, and were too busy to grant someone what turned out to be their last wish. So hold loved ones close today and whisper in their ear that you love them very much and you'll always hold them dear. Take time to say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Or it's okay. And if tomorrow never comes, you'll have no regrets about today. Let's sit for another 7 minutes or so in silence with that question. Brings us right to the heart of Yom Kippur. If you knew today would be your last day, what would you want to say? What would you want to do? How would you like to be? Who would you like to forgive? For what would you wish to be forgiven? Who would you like to hug and whisper that you love them? Who would you like to hug you and whisper that they love you? Last few minutes of our sit together. If your mind has strayed, I want to invite you to bring attention back to a process of noticing breath arising on its own, letting yourself be a vessel to receive breath, witnessing constant birth and rebirth and renewal. And also notice that breath returning to its source, death after death after death. Noticing being part of that cycle of birth, death, renewal, rebirth. And experiencing a sense of connection to the source from which that breath comes and to which we remain connected always. Feel the support, feel the love of that source giving you life right now. And we close with the words attributed to Moses himself, who accompanies us on this journey towards mortality at this time of year, every year, as we reach the end of the Torah cycle and come to the end of his life at 120 years. In Psalm 90, he teaches us, Limnot Yameinu Kein Hodah. Help us number and treasure each day, V'nadid levav chachma, that we might acquire a heart of wisdom. Wisdom to learn how to live in alignment with the divine. He too learns this through his willingness to move through resistance to death and move towards acceptance of that reality for us all. So if your eyes have been closed for our practice, I want to invite you to begin to let them flutter open. Come back to our group. You might want to switch to our gallery view if you're not on that, and take in the 231 folks who are here courageously, I might add, being willing to do this kind of practice and this kind of work, which our tradition teaches is an essential ingredient in the recipe for living fully and living lives of Kedusha, of holiness. So thank you so much for your willingness to do that. And as we do each day, we seal the practice, offering an opportunity for those of you who are in mourning, or if you're observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, to do that. And for those who are not reciting Kaddish, stay with us, please, for a few minutes to support those who are. And if you're reciting Kaddish to honor anyone in particular, you're invited to put their name or names in the chat now or after we recite Kaddish. And if you are reciting Kaddish, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time.
Yitkadal,
Yikadal,
Yitkadal,
Yikada, Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Yamad Vibra Sirte Biamliach Malite Saifon Viraton Chaye Vikol Beit Israel Agala Uman Karim Ru Amen
Shmei Rabba
Laura Mel Maya
Barach V'Yishtabach
Yishtabach
Aman
Vidroma
Dar
Vietadar Vietale Vietala Kusha Riku
Ela
Ela Ela Min Kol Birchata Bishirata Ata Vineshmata Rad Ve'ala V'Yamru
Shlama Rabba
Ishlama Rabba Ben Shemaya Chaim Aleinu V'Yoko Yisrael
V'Yomam
Ose Shalom V'Shalom Yasher Shalom Kol Yoshvei Tebel V'Yamru Amen.
Amen. Friends, once again, thank you so much for joining us today. And those of you who are leaving us now, I want to wish you a Gemar Chatima Tova. May you be sealed for a good year, a year of healing, health, hope, and for all of us, of course, most of all, praying for a year of shalom. May it be so. And we will not be meeting tomorrow, obviously, because of Yom Kippur, but we will be back on Friday to sit into Shabbat together with Rabbi Dorothy Richmond leading us. So we hope you'll join us then. For any of you who have joined us for the first time today, we're here, as I said at the outset, Monday through Fridays every day. We also live stream our sessions on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. All the recordings are posted on our YouTube channel. And so whenever we don't meet live, you can make use of that. And we have hundreds of meditations on our YouTube channel now after more than 5 years of doing this. So please join us anytime. As you know, it's a free offering that IGS is happy to make possible. We also offer a free yoga studio session with the amazing Kinderlisi Shamash every Monday at 11 a.m., 45 minutes of fantastic embodied practice with Kinderlisi, again, without any charge. So thanks for being here. We'll invite you to share your reflections on today's practice. And also be very happy to invite Rabbi Melanie Labab in to talk a little bit about the work of the Shomer Collective as well. And thanks to Rachel for sharing the link to the source sheet. I'm going to save a little bit of time. I didn't play, there's a song I'd like to play the last few minutes musical version of that line from Psalm 90 that we closed with. Limnot Yamenu Kein Hoda. Lavav. How about that? I will keep an eye on the chat. So if you have a question you'd like to ask either or both of us, please write question all in caps. Oh, this is a great question. Thanks, Laura, for this question. Maybe we'll start with this. Write question all in caps before a question, and keep an eye out for those. Laura is asking that what does that mean? A lavav chachma, a heart of wisdom. So I'm going to ask Rabbi Melanie Lavav. I don't know if that's the name you guys chose for that reason, but maybe it was, to share a
Thanks.
response to that.
I've spent a lot of time thinking about this verse. I wrote about it in my senior sermon for rabbinical school. Some of you know I'm a second career rabbi, so it wasn't so long ago. And my initial response is that it's a different type of wisdom than the intellect, right? I can learn things intellectually, but I can feel things with a lavav chokhmah. Maybe it's an emotional wisdom. Maybe it's something in between intellectual and emotional. But I'm curious what you think about it, Marc.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I started thinking, well, in ancient times they thought the lev, the heart, was the source, was the intellect, but whatever, that's what I say to that. Lavav Chachma is just like a fantastic phrase, and it's poetic, like all the Bible, really. It's poetry, right? So we can't define it. It's just like kind of what it conjures up for us. What it conjures up for me is a sense of wisdom, like you kind of said, that's like beyond the intellect, that the emotions and the body might give us some kind of entree into it, but doesn't quite totally capture it. But it's a line that really just like summarizes this whole thing, right? And it's interesting. I don't maybe remember this off the top of my head. Are there any other Psalms attributed to Moses? Do you know?
No, only one.
Only one. Okay, so
Pretty
this
sure.
is it.
Yeah.
Psalm 90. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Number 90 he got. It's theoretically that should be the first because he's the oldest. But anyway, it just captures it so beautifully. And I'll play the song, which is by Rabbi Yitzhak Husband Hankins, which I love and is quite haunting. And he just that the purpose of contemplating our own mortality, which we resist, so strongly. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit too. Yom Kippur just says like, all right, the jig is up, this is it. This is what's real, face facts, everybody face the fact. First of all, you're not taking everything with you, right? You're not, whatever you have piled up by way of accomplishment or whatever, or stuff over the course of the year, gone. It's all going to be gone. And what impact does that have on, it could lead to nihilism because well, what difference does it make? We're just going to go crazy, right? But actually the theory of change assumption is that awareness. You say like, what do I really want to do? So so let's talk a bit about resistance. You're the head of an organization that, has dying, right on the web page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you help people move through resistance to that topic?
By normalizing, talking about it, doing what we're doing today, being willing to say the words dead, death, and dying, avoiding euphemisms, avoiding the avoidance of it's a hard thing, I don't want to talk about it, or the superstitions that so many of us grew up with of if we talk about it, well, someone is unwell, we may be inviting in the angel of death. But in reality, if we don't talk about it, we know that we may wind up in a place that we wish we wouldn't be because we haven't figured out what would mom have wanted and she's no longer able to tell us. right? And dad wants one thing and the kids want something else, and the doctor needs an answer 10 minutes ago in order to figure out the course of treatment. So I think a lot of it is absolutely connected to this heart wisdom, to knowing something in your kishkas, as someone wrote in the chat, that it's actually something we need to do, and getting over the fear of death, to doing it, to having a conversation, not just once, but revisiting it on the regular, with the realization that we're all mortal and tomorrow, as you taught, is never guaranteed. And what is that going to look like in our lives going forward? God willing, we will get through Yom Kippur and see the day after. And what would happen if we didn't get through Yom Kippur? Where would the people who love us be left? If there's something that we can do in the coming days to make it a little bit easier for us and for them, then it's almost an obligation for us to start taking care of the business of living, knowing that living isn't forever.
Yeah. I want to address another question that's in the chat from Barry, who wrote what, which is not necessarily related to this topic of dying and death, but how does acceptance of the moment not turn into acquiescence in such ongoing injustice? What's occurring right now? There's so much work that needs to be done. So, to your question, Barry, I say my stock answer to that. And first of all, I first to acknowledge that, meditation and contemplative practice certainly can become navel gazing and narcissistic and escapist and etc. But that the intent here actually is to be able to slow down, to see with the truth of what's happening in the moment, not so actually it is very connected, because it's not so we can avoid it. It's so that it will hopefully activate us to respond more wisely to what's happening in the world. That's really the proof is in the pudding about whether we respond to that awareness, right? Same thing with the death and dying, right? We can respond to that, like I said, with pure narcissism and nihilism, and like, what's the point? We're all going to die anyway, right? So that could be a response, but it also could be a response to say, like, that provokes me to take stock of how I'm living and to actually do something about it, to take the actions, even the small things, well, so-called small things, like saying I love you, saying thank you, saying I'm sorry, blah, 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 all of that. So thank you though for that question, because that comes up all the time, and it's a question that's always here and in my mind too. Roberta, what do we do when the people we want to reach out to for forgiveness refuse to engage at all? Yeah, even though, wow, there's so many good resources here. Even though we're ready to acknowledge the hurt we may have caused and want to renew the relationship, in the case of my daughter. And Roberta, I'm so sorry. That's, very painful, and you're certainly not alone in that situation. So thank you for being willing to share that. I don't know, Rabbi, you want to respond to that?
I'll use the theme of these days, return and return again, right? If we feel drawn to return to try to repair the relationship, we have the opportunity to continue trying to the degree that we can tolerate the pain.
Right.
And change isn't easy. It's not always fast, but I think, the gift of living is hope, is the idea of possibility that things will be changing and grow. I wonder if that might be helpful, not giving up. If it feels like one side has given up, we don't have to give up too.
I think that is helpful. And also, that to the extent we want to draw from tradition, there's a sense of, asking for forgiveness, a certain number of times is the best we can do. And then we have to let go, which is obviously spiritually, emotionally, deeply challenging, because of the reality that we can't control other people. We can only do our part in that. And the key part is to do our part, right? Is to acknowledge all of us, we're in this bumper car of the world. We inevitably are going to bump a lot of people and hurt people. It goes along with being a human being. And to acknowledge our capacity for doing that, to try to do our best to, there's really what what the Talmud says about Yom Kippur is that it doesn't make atonement for transgressions among us until we do our part to acknowledge the hurt that we've caused and apologize for it. And that's our part, right? So the other thing I just maybe might say is to the extent to which prayer is part of one's life, that could be that's another option, right? To sort of have an experience of forgiveness from a source, whatever gets in the way of people forgiving someone who sincerely apologizes for something and regrets it. We have a tradition that says like there's a source that is forgiving, compassionate, and that's the mantra of the day tomorrow is the 13, again, a Moses-related story of the 13 attributes of compassion where God, when Moses says, let me know what you're really about, God, and God says, you can't handle it, I'm forgiving. I'm infinitely patient. I'm loving. I'm full of grace. And it's really, I think for us, it's really an issue of like, can we handle, if that is the truth, can we really handle it? Is that what we may rail against the harshly judging God of the Old Testament, so that we hear about, but can we handle a God that is loving, forgiving, and compassionate? That's another question for us to sit with every Yom Kippur. All right, we're not gonna have time to play the song, but maybe I'll put it on and it'll play us out for a few minutes. Melanie, thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thanks, Rachel, for holding our space, and we had a fabulous turnout today of over 230 folks. Welcome to the Shomer people who found us through the Shomer Collective, and kudos to the Shomer Collective for the wonderful and holy work that you guys do. And I'm just going to play this for a few minutes while we close. And Rachel, if you can keep the room open, while it plays. Can you hear it?
Limnot yameinu kein hoda Rabbi levav chokhmah Limnot yameinu kein
Mark, I think we can't hear the song when you're muted.
treasure each day.
Let's just listen to the song. Sorry, I was trying to share the words too.
Limnot yameinu Limnot yameinu kein hoda v'navi levav chokhmah Limnot yameinu kein hoda v'navi levav chokhmah Teach us to treasure each day Teach us to treasure each day That we may open our hearts to your wisdom Teach us to treasure each day That we may open our hearts to your wisdom Oh, teach us to treasure each day Treasure each day Teach us to treasure each day Treasure each each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Limnot Yameinu, Limnot Yameinu, Limnot Yameinu, Kein Hoda.
Everyone, once again, thanks to Rabbi Melanie Labov and Shomer Collective, and each of you, and to Rachel for holding our space. And wishing everyone a Gemar Chatima Tova. You all be sealed for a good year. And for those of you who are fasting, it be a Tzom Kala, an easy fast, most importantly, a meaningful fast. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here on Friday to sit into Shabbat together with Rabbi Dorothy Richmond. Thanks, everyone.